2021 meeting of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board. I would first like to ask everyone to silence your cell phones, cease any private conversations. I'd like to remind the members to lean forward and speak clearly into the microphone so that it can be transmitted correctly or well. And we'll begin by having our members and ex officio members introduce themselves.
Keenan Kinsel.
Paris Morphopoulos.
Terry Nowitzki.
Festus Polbeni.
Caitlin Jammo.
Thank you. Okay, are there, we'll go on to agenda item number 2, citizens to be heard regarding items not on the agenda. The rules are that comments are limited to matters relevant to the DDB district. Comments on items on the agenda will be held until the agenda item is called. Speakers must identify themselves clearly for the record, and there will be a strict time limit of 3 minutes. Are there any citizens? Yes, please come up and introduce yourself.
Lena Teixeira, 628 Cleveland Street. Good evening, board members. As I'm sure you're all aware, Clearwater, in conjunction with Sherry Hellman, the founder of Ocean Allies, are doing a huge endeavor, which is cleaning up Clearwater for the whole week of October, I believe, 11th through the 16th. That's important work, taking care of our environment, being good custodian of our environment. And we were thinking that the conversation needs to continue past the actual cleanup. So we are very excited to announce an additional component to this event, which is an artist component. So it serves 3 goals, including another group. It also promotes the arts and continues the conversation. And what it entails is on October 16th, these artists will go to the beach, collect several bags of trash, will then bring that trash to their workspace and be given a month to create an art piece using the trash that was collected. Then an exhibit will occur called Clean Up Clearwater, where the art pieces will be individually exhibited throughout the city, including several spots in downtown. So this is a great way to educate the public, whether young or old, covers most of the city, and it continues the conversation, and we can continue on our efforts to be good custodians of our environment. So I just wanted to let you all know, and I will circle back in November and give you a presentation and actually show you the art pieces and identify the artists that have been selected.
Excellent, thank you, Lena.
Thank you.
Sounds like an excellent project. Are there any other citizens to be heard? Okay, we'll move on to new business. Item 3.1, the final public millage hearing and reading of Resolution 2104. Ann?
Good evening, Ann Lopez, CRA Program Specialist. The purpose of this item tonight is to finally adopt your millage. Your millage was set on July 14th at 0.9700 mils. You approved that at the July 14th meeting. This meeting serves as your final hearing to adopt your millage. So I'm asking for approval of resolution number 21-04, a resolution of the City of Clearwater Downtown Development Board of the City of Clearwater, Florida, declaring the millage rate to be levied for fiscal year beginning October 1, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022 for operating purposes.
Thank you. Are there any questions from the board? Very good. Are there any citizen comments on this point? Very good. I'm looking for a motion to adopt Resolution 21-04.
Motion to adopt Resolution 21-4.
Proposed by Caitlin. Do we have a second?
Second.
Terry seconds. All right. Is there any board discussion on this point? All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. It is unanimous. Let's go on to item 3.2, the final public budget hearing and reading of Resolution 2105.
Good evening again, Ann Lopez, CRA Program Specialist. This again is your final public hearing to adopt your budget for fiscal year 2021-22 and adopt Resolution 21-05. The DDB approved a preliminary budget at their August 4th meeting. So I'm requesting approval of Resolution 21-05, a resolution of the Clearwater Downtown Development Board of the City of Clearwater, Florida, declaring the final budget to be adopted for fiscal year beginning October 1st, 2021 and ending September 30th, 2022 for operating purposes.
Okay. Do we have any questions from the board? Do we have any citizen comments? All right. I'm looking for a motion to adopt Resolution 21-05.
I'll make that motion for adopting 2105.
Okay, do we have a second?
Second.
Okay, so proposed by Keenan, seconded by Caitlin. Okay, is there any discussion? Then all in favor?
Aye.
It is unanimous.
Thank you very
Okay,
much.
thank you, Ann. We'll move on to item 3.3. Howard, you're going to take the lead on this?
Good evening, Board. Howard Smith, been Assistant Administrator for the Community Redevelopment Agency. So the purpose of this item is to request the approval of funding for the Intercultural Advocacy Institute, doing business as the Hispanic Outreach Center. The Hispanic Outreach Center Heritage Month event at Station Square Park in the amount of $5,500. The HOC will kick off the celebration of the Hispanic Heritage Month, which runs through September 15th to October 15th with a proclamation from the City of Clearwater's Mayor Hilbert. In addition, the HOC will recognize contributions, talents, and successes of the city's local Hispanic community by showcasing local artisans having musical performances and dances, and also recognizing and awarding individuals and partner agencies who have supported the HOC. The event is being held in collaboration with the Downtown Clearwater Merchants Association's Down Out for a Difference, with the proceeds going to the Gabe Cazares Memorial Scholarship for first-generation Hispanic students to attend St. Petersburg College. This funding request will be used to support the operational expenses incurred for hosting an event in Station Square Park, including but not limited to permitting fees, security, live music, audiovisual equipment, and also tables and chairs for the event. The CRA staff recommends full funding for this Hispanic Heritage Month event. The HOC grant request aligns with the Downtown Development Board's fiscal year 2021 work plan to fund the production and marketing of various special events throughout the DDB district. And pending approval, the HOC will complete a grant agreement that outlines the details for each event and also the marketing benefits of the DDB as part of their grant agreement. The appropriation and close amount. So funds for this grant are available through the marketing category line item 189-182-9411-5560 for the DDB fiscal 2021 budget. Per the DDB's funding policy, the request of $5,500 is below the $64,110, which is 30% of the DDB's $213,700 marketing category budget. And tonight for you, I have the Executive Director. Her name is Jacqueline Boland. She can answer any specific questions that you as board members may have for the HOC event. Okay. Jacqueline?
Thank you, Howard. Good evening. I'm Jacqueline Boland. I'm the CEO at the Intercultural Advocacy Institute, and we operate the Hispanic Outreach Center. As Howard said, this is our first request of you. We're doing this event not for the first time, but for the first time trying to do it outdoors. We have done our open house every year at our center, but of course, due to COVID, we would like to move it outdoors for the safety of everyone and take advantage of bringing people downtown to downtown Clearwater, as well as partnering with the Dine Out for a Difference, and all of the proceeds for that will go to the Gabe Cazares Memorial Scholarship, which, as you know, is named after the only Hispanic mayor in Clearwater, Gabe Cazares, years ago. And so this scholarship has supported numerous students at St. Petersburg College, first-generation Hispanic students, many of whom might not be eligible for other scholarships, DACA students and things like that. And this $2,000 that they get for the year really supports them. They usually are working, supporting their families and going to school, so this $2,000 goes a long way. So all of the proceeds from this Dine Out for a Difference will go to support those students here at St. Petersburg College in Clearwater. We also will have some students speak at our event as well to share why they're proud to be Hispanic and what it means for them to be part of this event at Hispanic Heritage Month. I'm happy to answer any questions that you have. We would love to invite you all to come and attend and join us as well at both the kickoff for Hispanic Heritage Month and the Dine Out for a Difference event.
Okay, go ahead, Keenan, you go first.
Thanks. I don't know if I heard Howard correctly. Did you say the mayor's wife and her nonprofit is involved in this also? Is that what I heard?
The mayor will be reading the proclamation for Hispanic Heritage Month. He will be there to read the proclamation, as the mayor does every year at our open house, so he'll be doing that.
Gotcha.
Why don't you tell them where your location is?
And our location, our building for the Hispanic Outreach Center is located within downtown Clearwater. We're located directly behind the police department of Clearwater Police. We have a Hispanic liaison officer in our building who is with us and is able to, we work with a number of victims of crime. And so they are there on site if there's any victims who come through who might maybe feel uncomfortable maybe going next door. So we're able to provide them with wraparound services, not just with the police, but with mental health counseling, food, getting them connected with shelter if they were to need it, and legal support as well. So that's what we do at the Hispanic Outreach Center, as well as a number of youth programs for middle and high school students. So that's part of the scholarship, is a great evolution of the programs and services that we offer at the Hispanic Outreach Center.
Very good. Did you have something, Caitlin? Anyone else, Terry?
Yeah, how many years have you had this, this event? How many years has it?
The center has been in Clearwater since the year 2000, when we were founded in collaboration actually with the Clearwater Police, and we've had this event for at least 7 years now running. The last year was the only year that we were not able to have it, of course, due to COVID, and this is our creative way, in partnership with the city, in partnership with all of the other events such as Dine Out for a Difference and the Merchants Association, to bring this event together in a way that is safe and yet collaborative for the city.
I just wanted to say I'm excited to see an application or a fund request from your group, and we have been efforting to improve our reach in terms of equity and diversity, and this is an opportunity to do so. So I wanted to thank you for bringing it to our attention and recommend to my fellow board members that we support your request.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Okay, is there anyone else that has anything to say? Okay, are there any citizen comments on this application? Okay, I'm looking for a motion regarding this funding request.
Motion to fully, oh, that's really loud. Motion to fully approve the proposed funding request.
Very good. Do we have a second?
I'll second.
Keenan seconds. Okay, so do we have any additional discussion from the board? Very good. I'd like to call the question. All in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay, it passes. Item 3.4, we have a request from the Downtown Clearwater Merchants Association for marketing and live music.
Yes, the first thing, Amanda Thompson, CRA Director, and I did prepare the staff recommendation. Typically, that would have been someone else on the staff, but I think that this is a really important request. We're at a really important time in this relationship between the DDB and the DCMA, so I really have a strong opinion that I'd like to share with you about that, but of course, we serve at your pleasure. Mm-hmm. First thing though, just a housekeeping note, a lot of times when people go to our meeting system, it looks like this. You click on the agenda here, and then you have this hyperlink. Sometimes when you click on the item, there's more. There's not just the title. And sometimes when you click on the item, it comes up on this history tab, so it looks like there's no information except these attachments, which can be horribly confusing.
Yes.
When we realize that, we want you to know that you should click on the text tab, and then that's where it explains what the recommendation is, where the money's coming from, and what the attachments are. So for anyone, our viewers at home, just know that this additional information is there. We will do our best to never leave you hanging with just a random assortment of attachments. So that being said, this is a little, the DCMA had submitted to us two different requests this time. One was for live music, and one was for marketing to pay for a portion of marketing services by Catalyst, who is an individual, Sheila Neisser, who's been doing work for the DCMA over the past 12 to 18 months. This is on the tail end of a year or more so of funding, which they've submitted their marketing report, which you've all received a copy of, just so you know what that looks like. That looks like this. That's outlined what they've worked on in the different categories. Let me go back. So from an administrative standpoint, we've definitely had our bumps in the road, right? About how to make asks, what should the ask look like, what paperwork's needed to report back on the grant requirements, and trying to figure that out. So for this time, in my opinion, I felt it was best for the DCMA to consolidate this ask. I took a really in-depth look at the budget that they've submitted, which is in here, for this upcoming year, and to really ask myself the question, what's going to make them successful, right? What do they really need to sustain and grow their efforts that they've already started over the next year and beyond? And my recommendations are informed from my background in two ways. One, I was an actual member and board member and leader in a nonprofit dance company that had an annual budget of $20,000 but it was a 501c3, so we had to follow all the board rules. We had some federal grants, all of that. So I understand what it means to be volunteer in a very small nonprofit organization and what that looks like. Also, when I worked for the Knight Foundation and doing arts funding across 8 different cities in the U.S., we funded everyone from a single artist, individual that would have to use a fiscal agent, say through a community foundation, all the way up to a museum for, multi-million-dollar endowment campaigns and everything in between. So I bring that with me when I'm looking at this budget. And what I've noticed about what the DCMA has learned and their values and what they've learned is reflected in this. On the fundraising side of things, they don't anticipate making a lot of money off of memberships from businesses, and they shouldn't, right? Because businesses come and go. Also, not everyone wants to join, and they don't necessarily want to, pay or can pay a big membership fee. So that's a pretty small portion of their budget. It's a reasonable portion. They also don't anticipate making a lot of money off of special events. I think they're right there too, especially in our pandemic time. Very hard to predict attendance. Right? Events are a lot of upfront expense. You're not necessarily guaranteed the ticket sales. So what they are trying to do is a fundraising campaign. This is these friends of categories that you see here, right? And so what this means is you have a person or multiple people going and saying to businesses, please buy into what we're doing, support what we're doing, make a donation. And I do think that this fundraising approach is the right strategy for right now. And they have several big things that they can build on. Coachman Park's under construction, finally, right? We have closure, right, with Cleveland Street. Mm-hmm. We've got streetscape construction going on. We have all the commercial grant programs coming through the CRA for building out new businesses. We have the DDB can consistently show month after month of doing funding for special events. So they're really at a good point to say, it's time for you to show your support and investment in downtown through this Friends of campaign. So I think their revenue plan is achievable if they are committed to it, right, and stay dedicated to it and that fundraising. And then when you're looking at the expenses, it is absolutely appropriate that their biggest expense is a person, because things happen through people. And even though a lot of times it's hard to pay for people, and in general operating, you're like, oh, should you volunteer? Could you do this? Could you do that? The reality is that if you have someone dedicated and paid, then they will do this work of the email campaigns, of the marketing, of the sponsorship, fundraising, all of those things. And again, while we have had a lot of painful conversations about paperwork, the DCMA has met their grant requirements. They have had events, they have done marketing activities, right? Sheila, they've organized sip and strolls, right? They have done what they are supposed to do with the money. No one went off and bought a Lamborghini. We didn't give them Lamborghini money anyway, but they didn't do that, right? They spent the money on what they were supposed to spend the money on. So all of that, and I realize this is longer than normal, but just to give you my thought process here, I think what they've submitted, although it could be in a better format, but what they have submitted is sound, where they anticipate raising money from, what they anticipate spending money on. And all of those numbers are reasonable and make sense. So what they have asked for is $13,000 to support continued live music during the week, and they've asked for $39,000 to go towards Catalyst, right, towards marketing staff person. On top of that, the CRA staff is recommending up to an additional $30,000 as a matching grant to help spark their Friends of campaign. And how that would work is for each of those categories, when they come and say, here's our commitment letter, here's the check from ABC Business that they're going to be a Friends of at $1,000, here it is in the bank, then we say we will issue $1,000 to match that. And then those funds, though, will be restricted to paying Catalyst. So if they are successful in their fundraising, then they will be able to essentially earn an additional $30,000, which would almost pay for all of Catalyst's time over a year. It wouldn't cover the whole thing, but it would get them very close, which would ensure that they would have a paid staff person to organize the events, send the emails, create the content, raise more money, etc. So that's the ask. I think, if approved, either way, whichever amount gets approved, the DCMA, to complete a grant agreement, they're going to have to provide an updated budget that incorporates the live music. The live music is not shown in that budget now, and that's because that was a separate ask that I combined. They'll need a monthly summary of advertising buys and events. They'll need a 6-month report and a year-end report of memberships, sponsorships, and event attendance / ticket sales. And for payment, we are recommending that we pay Catalyst directly on a monthly basis, that Sheila Nizar she can submit that invoice directly to the CRA with her report of what she's done. We can pay her directly. And then live music, we can pay the musicians directly, or we can continue to work through DCMA as we had before. And we're doing that as an effort to minimize their administrative burden, right? Just to cut out the middle person of one check going from here to here to here, which we think will be nicer for everybody involved. So the last thing I'll say is their tagline has shifted. When the district first came, it was like come and like party all night, something like that. And now it's shifted to come as a visitor and leave as friends. I think that's amazing. I think that is authentic to this downtown. I think that's what they're showing through the Dine Out with a Difference program. And it certainly aligns with our goal of trying to be more inclusive and more welcoming. So again, would we have preferred there were focus groups and surveys, and that was the tagline that it started with, and it was all very linear? That might have been preferred, but that's not what happened. But organically, we've gotten there, right? We've arrived at the place that I think we all want to be at and want to sustain. I handed out to you a 2009 list of events, and the final thing I'll say is when I came across this last week, I felt like I was in Groundhog Day or deja vu, right? In 2009, the DDB had a promotions committee. All these events were happening, and then what happened, right? And this is a story that happens in every city. You have a small group of people, they get burnt out, they move on, life happens, no one's coming up to step behind them. And we want to make sure that that doesn't happen again. And part of the way we do that is make sure that there is momentum around fundraising and that there are staff to work on, right, these activities and keep that momentum going. So with that, I will pause. Happy to answer any questions you have of me and what's written here, because the staff report, this is not DCMA, right? This is me. And then DCMA is here to answer any other questions you might have about the request.
Okay. Board questions?
Will this be coming from the special events grants line item?
This would be coming from the marketing line item, and if you approved it as recommended, after everything you did last month and this month, you would have $126,150 left in your marketing.
Would it be for this current fiscal year or next fiscal year?
So this would be beginning October 1st for this upcoming fiscal year.
Do we,
That starts in 2 weeks.
when you say the marketing though, are you referring to like the overall marketing? Because I'm looking at the line items and it looks like the only one we have for this next year is $250. for special events grants?
Correct.
Okay, so it'd be that one.
Yes.
Anyone else? Okay, I thank you for the text write-up on there is very, very clarifies what's going on and what's being proposed. I want to make a few comments before, and then maybe somebody else will want to say something as well. We've been funding the DCMA quite heavily as a board to the, not to the exclusion of other people.
I think you need to do citizens before the board starts commenting.
Certainly. Are there any citizen comments on this point? Well, you're a direct person on the, yeah. Is there any other citizens that are not involved with this item? Okay. I will let you have your say in a minute, Scott. I just wanted to take care of citizens, and then I wanted to make a comment, actually a few comments. So anyway, it's one of the biggest funding accumulations of funds. I don't remember how many requests there were in the last 18 months, but it's a fairly big series that came out to a fairly significant ask. I think overall, not speaking for everybody else, but for me, I think the outcome has been positive in terms of what it's done for the 400 and 500 block, in terms of its visibility and recognition. I see that it has benefited, or I've heard from you that it has benefited your businesses in particular quite a bit. What I haven't heard is how it has benefited other businesses, and I'm curious about that. The current ask is for a very significant amount of money as far as the DDB goes historically, and it exceeds the 30% that a recent board decided was the maximum we would give any one entity. So that requires extra due diligence and an exception to the rules we imposed on ourselves very recently. So I think it takes extra observation and making sure all the I's are dotted and the T's are crossed before we provide any funds for this. I have, in the past, with each request, different DDB members interjected their own questions or asked for things of the DCMA, and we received assurances and things like that. I'm referring to, when is the DCMA going to provide greater self-funding or more of this or more of that? Or how are you going to spread your effects to other parts of the district or to other blocks or to other businesses? And we've received assurances, but I haven't seen much in the way of actual results in that area. So I wanted to take this opportunity to actually hold your feet to the fire a little bit, that we're not just an ATM for a couple of downtown restaurants. We have hundreds of taxpayers. They're all paying. They don't have a responsibility or a duty to fund specific businesses. We want to improve what's happening, the viability of the DDB district as a whole. And we want to see that our funds, it's our duty to see that the funds are well spent promoting that activity. So I probably should have done this earlier, but I've been out with COVID for a month and then had a big backlog at work as a result of that. So I've only recently been able to put my attention on the request that's before us today. I have come up with a list of half a dozen questions which I've given to you, and I don't want just an off-the-cuff answer or an assurance. I want actual detailed responses, for me anyway, that show how this is going to occur, how these issues or questions will be addressed, or if they have been addressed, what are the actual answers that I'm missing. So my own position, which is not in keeping with staff's recommendation, or I don't know about the rest of the board, is that I would prefer to see this motion delayed to our October meeting and not make a decision today until we have some answers to these questions. So I applaud everything you've done, but I just want to exercise due diligence and make sure that we're on the right track and have everything that we should have been looking at in place before we sign over a very significant amount of money. It's not the answer that I think you were hoping that I would have today, but that's my opinion. So that's all I have to say. Does anyone else have to say anything?
Well, from my perspective, I live downtown, and ever since the DCMA has taken over, I can guarantee there's been a lot of changes. I do visit the different restaurants, and I have asked members to come to the different events. Haven't seen many of us there. It's kind of disappointing, but I walk the streets during the week when there are no events. I can see empty storefront, empty restaurants, and during the events, they're filled. I have been here once while it was raining, and people still turned up, and I was amazed. So they are doing something very viable, and I would love to have Scott still present what he wants to present today. Please, if we can have him do that,
Yes,
and then we can
absolutely.
ask him some questions. I appreciate
Absolutely.
it.
Scott, you're welcome to come up at this point.
Thank you, everybody. Scott Sousa, Downtown Clearwater Merchants Association, Clear Sky Restaurants. First off, thank you all so much for your support, because there are many businesses downtown that wouldn't be in existence if we weren't able to have some of the things happen that happened this past year, the street closures, and which allowed us to do some of these smaller events, but were good for everybody. Also, thank you, Amanda, so much for your support and for helping us weed through this. So the main part of the ask is really about getting Sheila on board full time. I think you're probably all aware, at one point, our take on it was perhaps we could get the DDB to bring her on board and she could work directly for you, and it would streamline all processes because she's right there. Obviously, there's some other legal issues that it's possible, but it would be more challenging to do. So if we do it through the DCMA, we're still working with the same footprint. We're still having our feet held to the fire, which I'm glad. Absolutely, I would be in the same position as you are, Paris. I would want to know answers and feel 100% comfortable with it before signing off on it. We, over the past year and change, we've changed on the fly so many times I can't even count on both hands. From what we started as, what we thought our goals were, to what we want to do down the road now. I think the biggest thing we achieved was to really become part of the community, and that was with some of the give back efforts and some of the amazing groups that Sheila's bringing in that aren't even necessarily give backs, but some local organizations that were bringing in downtown and getting to be part of our culture downtown, and to be multicultural and all the Hispanic group that we want to be a part of. So that has been a lot of our focus. Over the last, I would say, 4 months or so, it's been amazingly challenging because we're short on time and hours in our lives and work and whatnot. So to be able to grow and do a complete job for everybody for downtown, we need Sheila to be able to be full time. And one of the things that we have not spent as much time on is some of the smaller businesses that are not on those 400 and 500 blocks. And it's simply because we don't have time to get and go door to door and do guerrilla marketing to every single business that's there. Now, by bringing Sheila on board, that's the goal, that we can take care of that. We had to build it around restaurants and outdoor dining and entertainment and to begin with. And let's face it, if you look at Armature Works, if you look at Sparkman Wharf, if you look at Riverwalk in Tampa, they're all based around restaurants. So it's not a self-serving thing by any stretch. And anybody who's involved in any of our board meetings will tell you, with us obviously being the largest restaurant downtown, I do everything in my power to not have anything being, for myself, that I worry much more about all the other businesses and all the other restaurants than Clear Sky, because we're going to be successful, one way or another. We've got deep pockets and we can make it happen. But I can't be as successful without all the other businesses, So we really have that view. We'd be happy to get all the answers for you. I've already seen them and looked them over, so we'll certainly get them to you ASAP. And we have answers. I've already looked it over. So, any other questions you have for me or for Sheila as well? Because you know, we should all be super thankful for her, because she's basically worked, you know, without pay for the last 4 months for all of us. And she still continues to do it, and I get 5, 6 emails a day from her on this going on. She's still going to events and activities, and I mean, she's an amazing woman, she really is. So we're fortunate to have her, and hopefully we can, you know, take care of her like she's taking care of us. That's the goal.
Okay, great, thank you, Scott.
You good?
Does anyone have any questions for Scott? Go ahead, Keenan.
It's more of a technical bent. Thanks for answering the email, by the way. I sent a bunch of questions a few weeks ago, so thanks for that. As a follow-up, this would be more technical, I suppose, but on the budget, I've done a few campaigns locally with businesses. $20,000 for direct mail, for example, would translate into 2 million views on YouTube locally of a short ad. So this would be more of a recommendation to maybe expand the option of moving that money to things that'll get a lot more eyeballs on your concepts and stuff. So I have some information I can share with you on local things we've done for businesses locally.
You know, I feel badly that we haven't involved you more in those types of discussions, because I know you're amazing.
I was busy partying with Festus at all the events, even though he doesn't see me there because he does it too, you know.
That's 600 block, we don't care about that, you know.
I'm spending my money during the day, Festus, so just
No,
for
we're
the
100%
record.
on board with you, and we have done no sponsorships on Facebook or Instagram either, and, you know, there are things that need to happen.
Yeah, there may be I can give you and show you results of other campaigns we've done that might be interesting. So that's.
Like I said, we're growing and morphing as time goes on, and just want to get better every day.
Excellent. Thank you, Scott.
We good?
Anybody else? Carrie?
Question. Do any of the downtown businesses do any of their own promotion?
Yes, and Sheila actually has been very helpful with them as well. So if they've got, let's say, example, Downtown Pizza had sponsored, one of the local radio stations did a baseball, one of the Rays baseball games there, they sponsored it and came down. So Sheila met with Dale and Sarah, and she was in there with them, helping them craft what to promote on their site. And we're not great at graphic design, that's not, you know, we have people that can do that, but you know, we're pretty knowledgeable and pretty successful on getting the word out to people. So in addition to helping them with their projects on their media, however they're getting it out, but also, you know, blowing it up on ours. So, you know, and the goal is moving forward, anything we're doing marketing, we want all of the other businesses involved in that. Now, whether it's because we put the word out and somebody hasn't come to a meeting, it's hard for us to make 50 phone calls and say, hey, we really want you to come down here and listen to this and be involved. So that's really what we need now. Is there are more than 50 businesses, you know, in our district. There's probably 80 or 100, and if we can get, you know, we were at a point where we had 30 or 40 people at a meeting, you know, and it goes up and down over time, and everybody's busy and trying to get everybody to meetings, but we need to have a very large, serious city hall meeting and try and get, you know, 70 out of the 80 businesses there, so we can say, here's what we are as a group, and here's how we're moving forward, how we want to help all of you. So, you know, anybody involved will be involved in all of our marketing materials, including the website, which is about to go live,
Okay.
and social media.
On that bent, what is the strategic plan to engage beyond the 400 or 500 block? Like I see the money and I see the memberships. I think it's a fantastic idea, by the way. I'm surprised I hadn't thought. Okay. But how do you reach out? What is the plan to pull in all the, like, how many businesses are at the ring, Festus? 20, 30, 40 in there?
And you know, we've shied away from the ring because they're not retail outlets, so we're really looking more towards retail, you know, downtown.
So just
Clearwater merchants.
people on the street.
More, you know, that's more CDP. I mean, in our eyes, but
I
that's,
see.
Well, I have a question
we're
there.
partners with them, but you know, we're not marketing for people at the ring per se. Yeah.
Now, I'm a member. It's very difficult for me to come to your meetings because they're usually mornings and I'm otherwise occupied at that time. But the point I want to make is, I don't get notified when you're actually having meetings. As a member, I do not
We
receive
had
emails.
somebody on the email list, and apparently somebody that doesn't work for you anymore, that there was an email for somebody at One Stop Shop. And I don't remember the person's name. Sheila, do you remember?
No, all the DDB should be on the list of the GCMA.
Well,
So we are literally, I mean, the only way that we can do this is to be boots on the ground, knocking on doors and seeing people in person. And that's the next step.
well, I think an
our
email
current
would
setup,
work.
we don't have
As a first
time
step.
to do it, it's.
An email
emails.
blast to the membership.
But that will be, a big part of Sheila's job to begin with, is to,
To go out, just door to door.
yeah.
Okay.
And
Carolyn, you had something to say?
Yeah, I wanted to
Thanks,
speak
Jeff.
a little bit to expanding beyond the 400 and 500 block. We have done some work with that, and one of the things that we've done is we've started working with some of the property managers of the empty storefronts. Because our biggest challenge that we feel is we've got our restaurants here. There are other businesses on the periphery, but there's also empty spaces down that 400, 500, 600 block corridor, right? So I personally have been working with Nick, who's been coordinating for the group, is it CBW group, I believe it is, that has a bunch of properties, including the one that I'm in. And I can tell you right now, in the 600 block, just in the last 60 days, they have signed up a new restaurant to go into where Basil was. A new Jamaican restaurant is opening up. They have signed up a coffee shop that's coming in that block. I'm actually opening a second kitchen down there in that block. They have the gummy bear people in there. So the storefronts are filling, and there's more storefronts that we're working with them on to see what they're willing to do. The biggest challenge with that group is they only do a month-to-month lease. So we have to kind of find the right fit to try to get the right retail in there that's willing to come in. Maybe they just want to do a one-year startup, and so a month-to-month isn't that big of a deal for them. So I just want you to know, I personally have been working with him on that. Also, as merchants, when there's been a problem with some of the properties, we've been going directly on the merchant's behalf to some of the property owners to make sure that leaky roofs are getting fixed and not, jeopardizing that property. So we are trying to take that proactive approach right now, and I think our strategy has been fill up 400, 500, and 600 block. That's the corridor for downtown. And then the businesses that are on the periphery, we have talked to many of them, and we are excited about being able to this year start folding them in and bringing them into some of our events, even though they may not have a site on the street. They can certainly be there during sip and stroll and have a little booth to promote their business, right? So one of the things we'd like to do is, we used to have, if you recall, at the Blast Fridays, they used to have little vendor booths up and down that meridian, right? So hopefully getting through some of the things that have been restricted with the city as it becomes more, as we are able to actually bring more people in and have it more be kind of like that kind of event, we can start promoting the businesses that are here within the district at all of the weekly events that we have planned so that everybody gets represented. And I have to give you a little testimony here. There was a business, and I'm not going to name names, that refused to join the DCMA, refused to participate in any of our events. And just last month, we got a call from the owner, Sheila got a call from the owner, and he said, how do we become a part of this? And so that resistance was actually just finally overcome when they actually saw the success of what we were doing, and they are now actively participating as a member of the district. So sometimes it takes a little bit to get that message out there and to get that momentum going. And we have had a lot of challenges with the hand we've been dealt with. But I do want to assure you that we discuss almost at every meeting how we can actually expand our reach and get beyond, and what we can do to bring these people and give them the most exposure possible so that they can have some promotion through the district
Okay,
and
thank
make
you,
it a
Kim.
thing.
Go ahead, Keenan.
I agree with you, and I see I mean, I walk the street 3-4 times a day, when it's not so hot. And I see the 400, 500, 600 block is now happening. So I guess my question is more, maybe we just don't know. How do we get the Allstate insurance that's next door, the dentist or the garage? There are people within the district. What is it that's going to motivate them to advertise, basically? Because if people are coming downtown, how do we get their exposure so they'll contribute? Maybe you figured it out. Maybe you're going to do it while Sheila knocks on doors. But it seems like that's the problem, is they don't have a good enough reason to get involved.
Well, some of those salons and some of those businesses haven't even really been open full-time, and they're just finally getting back to work.
Well, Allstate's been open it's never closed. The garage didn't close, the dentist didn't close. So I'm just saying, there's money, there's people, there's staff that aren't engaged, and maybe we could help with some type of survey or something to figure out what it would take for them to jump in, or they're just not going to, I don't know.
I think it's going to depend on if they see there's any value there. And that's the biggest question that we always get when we talk about membership. Well, what's the value? And honestly, now that we do have the district brand happening and we have these events going, we've got our website that we're ready to launch. We're just trying to get it off onto our own little, what is it that we have to get it onto? The domain.
Oh.
You can tell I'm not technically inclined too much, but anyway, we're ready to launch that thing. And one of the things that we can use that website for is all of the businesses can be mentioned on there, be positioned on there. They can use the calendar for things that they're doing, and we can bring that added value to them that they just don't have right now. And it gives us a tool to work with them as well.
Links to their individual pages.
Yeah.
And I can tell you from the bottom of my heart that we do not want to be event-driven. We've had to be to get our name out there and to kind of build a brand a little bit, but it's a lot of work. I mean, I'm there Saturday morning at 7 in the morning, opening my restaurant, working the busiest day of the week, and still taking down tents at 10 o'clock at night. I mean, I don't want to be doing that for a living so that's not our goal. It's a necessary evil. There are some good things that come with it and some challenging things that come with it. We've got some great volunteers that have helped, but it's, we want to be able to be smarter about it and have, those marketing abilities for all the, whether it's, like you said, Allstate or whomever it is, that, when we're doing ads with the chamber or whatnot, that, everybody will have a chance to be involved with that. And that was the reasoning for when we redid the dues structures. We rewrote the bylaws last month. We did a couple things. One, we changed our calendar to match the DDB calendar, so our fiscal year now runs October 1st through September 30th. We included to make sure that the entire, DCMA's footprint is the DDB's footprint. So that, we just wanted to match up with everything as much as we could to make it easier and have less confusion, because everybody's, there's been too much confusion about what's the district, what's the DCMA, what's the DDB, there's too many letters, and we all know there's about to be another one thrown in there on top of it.
But they all start with D. They all start with D. Yeah.
But, so in the dues structures, we took, since restaurants are more prominent, we're asking them for $250. For other businesses, only $125. So it's not as big of an ask for a smaller business. And $125 over the course of a year is not a huge amount of money. And if they needed to break it up into 4 payments, we would certainly work with anybody. But, we want to, we tried to make it more approachable to the small businesses.
Okay. Thank you. I just wanted to say that I think Sheila's been a great asset in the past since she's come on board. And
Let's not use past tense, please.
No, up until this point. And so I think Sheila's done a great job. I think the proposal is a good one, and I think the work that Amanda has done to flesh it out and put some meat on the bones is very valuable, as it clarifies it for me as to what.
And having her will also, help Howard and Amanda immensely as well, to streamline processes, and she will handle all that instead of.
Now we understand.
Yeah.
She'll have time to be in front of a computer to do that while I'm trying to answer emails and phone calls and whatever.
Now, Did you have something you wanted to say?
Oh, lots to say.
Well, try
I feel
to
like I've
keep
never
it
been
short
the
because we're
elephant
trying
in
to
the
keep
room.
it to a short meeting.
Oh, no, well, sorry. No, I've never been the elephant in the room, but wanted to say thank you for the opportunity. We're basically building this plane as we were flying it. We didn't know what COVID was going to do. We knew we had outdoor dining, and we knew we needed something beyond becoming an entertainment zone. So some of the things that I was not brought on board until basically the ribbon cutting. And I realized that they had really pretty pictures, they had a really great logo, but they didn't have a brand behind it. They didn't have a personality. Prior to that, a lot of commitments were made for direct mail that I disagreed with. I agreed with Rosemary that basically maybe we allocated our money inefficiently. It was overall effectively, but we had to backfill without spending any money. So I wanted to answer that to you, is why those decisions were made and how we're pivoting. We're really looking at how we're spending our money. We met last week on that budget to say, I just threw away 50 shirts from my late father who had logos on it, and I went, do we need to give somebody that gives us $5,000 a logoed shirt? He may not want it. He may have 50 like my dad. And so we're looking at where we can be most effective in driving additional revenue. I believe I've seen too many developments. You've got to have organic growth if you're going to have a sustainability. Being event-driven, I know there's been lots of DDB board members that are all about events. I call that basically caffeine or sugar high marketing. People come in, they have a great time, and they leave. I've seen huge events where major people are playing for free, and people come and they bring their chairs and they have a wonderful time. And they don't spend any money, they don't buy any dinner, they don't buy any alcohol, they have a great time and they go. That does not help your merchants. It does not help the downtown small business owner. So that's what our pivot is. And on a personal note, guys, I got paid, I've worked almost 12 months, and I got paid $22,000. I could have made more bussing tables for this guy. But I believe in this. And I say an unfinished house doesn't appraise well. We are almost finished this house. Frank Crumb's people, I met with them. They're going to be our October sponsor. They're coming in, they want to invest. And I think there's lots of other businesses that do that. But you've got to invest in people. And that's what concerns me. I haven't gotten anything in 4 months. And this Saturday is a sip and stroll. And I'm the one that gets there at 2 o'clock. I set up everything. I greet everybody. I handle the money. I count the money. I do the accounting and give it back to Carolyn and give it back to him. And then on Sunday, I do an accountability that you see in these numbers on who attended, how many attended, what the trends were, what are responses on social media. That's a lot of work that I invested in this community. And I think I need some equity fairness for that work. So.
Okay, thank you. Okay, thank you.
Thank you all very much.
Now, does any other board member have anything to contribute, anything to ask? Okay, so I'm entertaining motions, sir.
I appreciate the clarification.
Okay. Good.
I didn't.
I said I appreciate the clarification. I just feel like we got more information that we didn't have in order to make a more informed decision.
Very good. So I'm willing to entertain a motion regarding this item.
I would move to approve the 2 requests as requested, which would be a total of $52,000.
Okay, just a sec. Okay, we have a second, is Festus, and now we have board discussion. Go ahead, Keenan.
First, I want to say thank you, Sheila, for all your dedication and what you've done. A lot of us have done the same thing, quite frankly. I've never been compensated for the people I brought to downtown. or the time I've worked outside of my regular jobs. I hope you have more than one customer at Catalyst. But thank you nonetheless, because it is appreciated and heartfelt. Our job is to, in my opinion, I still don't really know, we've never gotten around to sending out surveys to the property owners, which is on our agenda at some point, to find out what the property owners, I really don't know what's a clear picture. I know what we want. I want the same thing you want, which is music, food, businesses, full stores, people coming, the park, opened, which will be, speaking of a full house, it won't be full until the Coachman Park is done, the gateway is done, and those things are happening anyway. The train left the station. So this thing is rolling. Not many of us could stop it at this point, the downtown growth, in my opinion. So I think we're augmenting it at this point, and I don't know. At this point, I love the idea of more live music. I love the idea of helping the roll going, but I still don't really have, we've been so off track with COVID and stuff, we've never really done the survey. When we had that meeting where we all did a whole day of discussions and stuff, and that was, we were gonna survey the property owners and find out, and yes ma'am.
So we have through Bandwagon, are you referring to Bandwagon, the marketing firm?
No,
that we did one-on-one interviews with, because we've done a survey with them.
With all the property owners?
Well, it was promoted. It wasn't sent directly to every property owner. And then every property owner should have gotten a letter about the opportunity zone in the downtown as well.
Feedback, maybe I just
So,
don't know. Maybe
yeah,
they did.
we're still working through the final report with Bandwagon.
Okay.
So you will get that feedback in the next 6 weeks
Oh, good.
or so. They'll be coming back and presenting.
Do we know if they were successful in making contact to a majority of?
Yes, they have a statistically significant results.
Oh, good.
Based on our demographics. So yes, there will be more, and it asks those kind of questions. What kind of shopping, what kind of events, what's your perception, all those things.
Beautiful, thank you.
Yes, so that is coming, but it started a long time ago, so I didn't expect anyone to remember that. It's coming.
Okay, do we have any other comments? Sure, go ahead, Caitlin.
Just wanted to highlight two things. One, in choosing between proposing as requested versus what was recommended by staff, I had two concerns with going above what had been requested. One, it wasn't requested, and my concern is going forward with other requests that come in. But two, because we had just recently put in that 30% requirement, I'm hesitant exercising our discretion so soon, and then overcoming that I think that may be something that bites us later on. So I just wanted to explain that was my thought process there.
So I'd like, because I wasn't here for that conversation, I'd like clarification. The change was, you set a cap on a maximum grant request. But you did not say a maximum request per organization or times of request. So you set a cap, but what that does is it incentivizes someone to say, well, I'll just split it up.
Oh, no, it was a cumulative cap for the year.
It's not written as cumulative cap for the year. So I think that if your intent is that one organization can only get up to a certain amount of money per year, then we need to change and clarify that. Because that's not how it is now, so.
Elise?
If you look at the meeting, it may not have been written properly, and I didn't ever review the minutes, but if you look at the meeting, I specifically asked for clarification. I said, is that notion per grant or is that per organization? And the response was per organization.
Okay, I haven't watched the meeting line by line. All I know is the written words that were adopted that we have to go by. So
Actually, you have to go by what was actually said. Well, no, because then you adopted the minutes.
Right.
But the minutes, what was actually said and the intention of the board was per organization. I did ask for that clarification, and I'm sorry it didn't make it minutes.
So whatever that may be, just know that as we're advising people who are asking for money, right, for funding, what I have is what's written. So if we need to change that, then we need to bring that back and change that. So we'll follow up with some things in writing to be considered at the next meeting to know if that's supposed to be a per entity cap of funding or however
Yeah.
that was meant.
You had a calculation in your thing on what what percentage the 52,000 was and how much over the 30,000 was. It might just resolve it if we figured out what 30% of that budget number, what that number actually is.
Sure, and it may be that
It might only be a few $1,000s off.
the language that was adopted in the minutes is different than what was discussed, and so I think it's a great idea to clarify that. I'm just looking at if I'm a future fund requester that is requesting something above or something different. When we look at the text of the recommendation, it specifically identifies that the 82,000 exceeds 30% of the GDP's marketing category. So that's what highlighted it from my perspective. And so my concern is exercising that discretion so early may create issues in the future. I think I'm personally probably not opposed and frankly supportive of going to that point at some point in the future, and let's discuss it, but my concern was just pretty much immediately changing that based upon that language. So I just wanted to clarify that reasoning for that part of it. On the other side of it, the only concern that I would reiterate would be expanding to the DDB footprint versus having it be more localized. We heard a lot of, explanation in terms of how that's being addressed, and I put my faith that will occur, and I know you're requesting and getting additional information, so we'll just continue to monitor that. So from my perspective, that addressed that concern.
Okay. The only comment I wanted to make unless there's somebody else that wants to say something before we call it for a vote, is that, Sheila, if you would just be patient. I think we all applaud what you've been doing and would like you to continue doing it, and we're behind it. I do want to exercise my responsibility for due diligence, and my position is still that I would like to wait and get answers, not at the next meeting. I would like to get the answers before that. So if there's any follow-up necessary or whatever, that it's all done before the next meeting and it's all satisfactory and it's a rubber stamp. Because I'm in favor of going forward. I just want to do what I think I should do. But go ahead.
First off, if it was your idea on the matching grant, I think it's a great idea because it's based on production and going out and fundraising. So I guess I have a follow-up question for how long has this idea been percolating, and has it happened yet? Has any friends of been secured? You said Frank Crum, right? Maybe it's a question for Scott, or is this just a brand new idea?
The idea probably was raised 2 months ago, and, we've been working on figuring out the logistics and how to make it work, and we've gone back and forth a half dozen times on levels. And, it's not an easy thing, so we're working the bugs out. We have 3 groups procured for the $5,000 level, so and those are, they'll own a month downtown, and whether through charity events and sip and strolls and marketing and paraphernalia and all sorts of things. So we've had a certainly positive response, and we've been targeting them first. The lower level ones that's low hanging fruit. I mean, those are all the people that live at Water's Edge and Skyview and that are all great regulars of all ours. So for them, I have full faith that they'll throw us $100 here to be a member, and that we'll get great response from that as well. So. Again, it's just, it's in the infancy stage, so it's rolling.
Very good. Thanks. Thank you, Scott.
I do have one question, if I may.
Yep.
I don't know if this is out of line to propose, because I know you can amend something that that's an ask. Would it be out of the question to ask for propose that somebody made a motion for a smaller amount of money to at least seed Sheila through the month, to get started right away rather than pushing it back another month?
That's what the current motion is for the 52,000. The current motion's for your original request.
Okay, awesome. Thank you.
Please.
Just as a point of order, so that nobody gets in trouble here, you're not talking about bringing on an employee, you're talking about bringing on a consultant.
Correct.
Okay, and is it the company or is it the individual?
Okay.
Okay, please stop saying Sheila. Okay, I want somebody coming back later and saying, y'all want to be doing withholding. Okay? Yep. Thank you.
Very good. So I need some clarification then on what is the current motion before us.
The current motion is to approve the two requests as specifically identified, which was for 13,000 and 39,000.
Oh, because I'm looking at item 3.4 and it's for 82,000.
So that was
That's
the
not
staff
what-
recommendation.
Pardon me?
That was.
It's written as a not to exceed.
Oh, okay. So
82.
your motion is for not the 30,000, but just the 52.5?
The 52, yes.
Or the 52? Okay. Okay. So is there any other discussion before we call for a vote? Okay. All in favor? Okay. And I'm opposed for now. Okay, so it's 4-1.
And I have some questions, just to make sure we understand. So today, as your funding policy is written, it's written that you do not want to give a grant that exceeds 30% of what's budgeted in your marketing category. So right now, that's $250,000. 30% is $75,000. So how we interpret that is that you expect funding requests to be less than $75,000. If they're over that, then you need to explicitly acknowledge and approve that.
Right.
If
So this one is $7,000 over.
correct.
Yeah.
So that's why we say the 82 is $7,000 over your $75,000 cap. Right now, there is nothing written that says you want to limit entities for how many times they can come back and ask. I think that if that is a limitation you want, we need to know. We should put it in writing because we don't want to give anyone false hope. Right?
I think
So-
that's what we thought we had voted on.
Yes.
That's what we thought we had passed at an earlier meeting. I don't know how it didn't get written down that way, but that's what we thought we approved.
Okay.
Go ahead, Lise.
You can do a clarifying motion. Or it can wait until the next meeting and have it on the agenda so that it's available for comments.
Let's have it as
But
a separate.
you need to put
yeah.
something in the minutes that gets approved that shows your true intent. And if your true intent is that it's 75 per group, that percentage per group, then you're not required to approve over that amount no matter what you guys have done already, but it would be nice to clarify for the people who are asking for grants.
Yeah.
And I suggest that there be a motion reflected in the minutes, either made at this meeting, but probably next meeting, so that there's time for public comment, and that you all state what you really want.
Okay, I think we should
And
have
that's
that.
what you're saying, Amanda, right?
Yes.
We should have that as an agenda item, as a separate issue from what we're doing right today.
So related to this grant, though, what I've heard is that as part of their grant agreement, we want to make sure we get answers to these questions.
Mhm.
So we have that information moving forward. And then are you inviting the DCMA to come back and request additional funds for the matching grant program? Or are you not interested in hearing more about that? Because I've just heard mixed messages of like, I didn't want to do it in this form because of these reasons, but I've also heard I think it's a good idea. So we want to give them guidance if they should consider coming back and requesting more funding or not.
That is a good point, because I was, until just a minute ago, I was under the misapprehension that the motion was for the entire amount. So my opinion is that the staff recommendation for matching funds, either we adopt a motion to increase the amount we allow to be asked for, or that it be tapered down to what is allowable currently, which is $7,000 less. And since they didn't ask for it in the first place, I don't know that it's a big killer one way or the other.
Right, no, and I wanted
Yeah.
it to be very clear that they did not ask for that. This is
Yeah.
just what I think
So-
they need to be successful.
Yeah. So that being said, that's leaving it hanging right there at the moment. Anybody's welcome to make a motion if they like on,
I think consensus is fine in terms of just giving guidance. And what I hear is you would like to see a draft policy to consider at the next meeting that gives more clarification on how many times an entity can ask for money from the DDB and what the cap on those asks are.
right.
Yes.
Okay, are we good?
Yeah.
Okay, so I think we have not Sheila, but a company that's going to take care of our needs going forward. So with that, we'll go on to the next business item. Item 4 or old business, I don't think there's anything listed there. We'll move on to item 5.0, the chairman's report. As was mentioned earlier, there are several new businesses coming to downtown, the Kale Market, and that was Carolyn's new enterprise, Paleo, gluten-free, keto, and plant-based food and desserts, a bakery shop, which expands Carolyn's Kitchen at 615 Cleveland Street. The Scrummy Sweets Company Candy Shop, zero sugar, clean and naturally sweetened gummy candies, gummy bears. It's also in the 600 block at 617 Cleveland. It's good to see some activity in that block. And a third one in that block, as mentioned, the Jamaica Vibes Grill Authentic Caribbean Food. And at 420 Cleveland Street, Green Culture, modern-inspired plant-based menu featuring juice, smoothies, sweet bowls, harvest bowls, baked goods, soft serve, and organic Java. Also another business, Pilates by Christine, private Pilates instruction, and small group mat classes open to the public. That's also in the 600 block, which is excellent. It's 639 Cleveland Street, Suite 102. And then another announcement, the Cleveland Street Studios, the facility is available to anyone to create professional videos, photography, product videos, product photos, business videos, music videos, or radio podcast interviews, and it's open to the public. Again, in the 600 block at 647 Cleveland Street. It's becoming a busy block. And then race athletics, dynamic new gym that will train you and keep you in shape at 936 Cleveland Street, Suite C. Then there's a few events I'd like to mention. Saturday, September 11th, and every second Saturday following, Market Marie, Unique Farmer and Artisan Market, 9 a.m. to 2 p.m. at the corner of Court and Myrtle. Saturday, September 18th, live art painting, the barricades on the 500 block of Cleveland Street. That'll be good to see. Clearwater Art Alliance Art Walk, the District Sip and Stroll from 6 to 8 p.m. The district presents District After Dark Dance Party on the 500 block of Cleveland. That's from 7 to 10 p.m. And then Thursday, September 23rd, Hispanic Heritage Month celebration at State Park. That's at 5:30, 4 to 8 p.m. The district presents Dine Out for a Difference from 4 to 10 p.m., benefiting Hispanic Outreach Center's Gabe Cazares Scholarship Fund. That's a lot of activity for my report's unusually full. Okay, and now we will move on to board members to be heard.
Have a great night.
Exciting to see all the activity that's coming to downtown, and we're happy to support it.
Thank you, Amanda. Thanks to your staff. Thank you, Lise, for helping clarify things. And thanks to DCMA for all you do. I will see you guys at all your events, and I'm looking forward to your event, madam. Thank you.
Thank you, Amanda. Thank you, staff. Thank you, DCMA. And I look forward to the event coming up on the 23rd.
Good, and thank everyone here for their participation and involvement in our downtown. So with that, at 6:44 in the evening, this meeting is adjourned.